Patrick Callahan had spent 40 years in the department, and his retirement was a quiet, well-earned reprieve. The days were filled with crossword puzzles, bad coffee, and the familiar ache in his bones. But the quiet was shattered the day he learned his old partner Leo was dead. Not from a heart attack or old age, but a single, clean shot to the back of the head. And the case went cold. 6 months later, Patrick was a ghost haunting the department's cold case files. His obsession was a splinter he couldn't dig out. He found Detective Mark Reynolds, the lead on Leo's original case, hunched over a different file, his face a mask of weary defeat. "It was a robbery gone wrong," Reynolds mumbled, not bothering to look up. "That's what the brass wants." Case closed. "Leo wouldn't have gone down for a street mugging," Patrick replied, his voice a low growl. "He was too sharp." Reynolds finally looked up, his eyes a mix of irritation and pity. "Paddy, you're retired. Let it go." But Patrick couldn't. He spent his days re-examining the case file he'd taken with him, the one he kept tucked away in a dusty banker's box. He scoured old interviews, re-walked the crime scene, and focused on the inconsistencies that had been overlooked in the initial investigation. He remembered how Leo, a meticulous detective, always kept a spare set of keys in his pocket. But according to the report, only one set was found. He found small, seemingly insignificant details: a witness's contradictory statement about the make of a car, a discarded cigarette but that was never tested for DNA, a pawnshop transaction for a unique item Leo was known to have. Patrick painstakingly pieced these clues together, convinced they led somewhere the original detectives had failed to look. He started showing up at the precinct again, his weathered face becoming a permanent fixture in the hallways. He ambushed Reynolds, shoving new findings and old photographs in his face. "The witness's story about the car doesn't add up," he'd insist, his voice raspy with conviction. "She said she saw a sedan, but the tire tracks clearly indicate a larger vehicle. Why wasn't that followed up?" Reynolds, burdened by a heavy caseload and department politics, tried to ignore him. But Patrick's persistence was a slow, steady tide wearing away at his defenses. The breaking point came when Patrick found a receipt from a local garage in one of Leo's old bank statements, dated a week before the murder. He cross-referenced it with Leo's old logs and discovered that Leo had brought his personal car in for a service after discovering a tracker hidden inside. The police had never run a check for it. He confronted Reynolds with the new information, the evidence now undeniable. He pointed out the sloppy casework, the overlooked details, the hurried conclusions. Reynolds, a decent cop at his core, finally cracked. The failure to properly investigate his friend's death, the years of cold silence, and the undeniable evidence Patrick presented forced him to confront his own shortcomings and the department's institutional failures. With Reynolds' help and a renewed focus on the cold case, the new clues led them to a retired mob enforcer Leo had put away years ago. The pawn shop item was the enforcer's calling card, a detail only Leo, and now Patrick, would have recognized. The enforcer's son, angry and resentful, had been the one to plant the tracker and deliver the final brutal shot. The arrest was made, and the killer, arrogant and surprised, confessed. For Patrick, the closure was bittersweet. It didn't bring Leo back, but it gave his friend the justice he deserved. And for Reynolds, it was a hard-won lesson in the importance of persistence and a humbling reminder that no case is ever truly cold as long as someone is willing to keep the fire burning.